6. Today we're going to go over a system of equations, and also we're going to talk about conic sections. Okay. First, we're going to talk about system of linear equations. So what is that? You have linear equations, and we talk about linear equations in week 1. So linear equation is equation which have x and y and numbers, not squares, not cubes, not fractions, not square root, just numbers and x's and y's. So if you have two of those equations, they're gonna make a system of two linear equations. If there are three, it's gonna be system of three linear equations, okay? So you can have more than two, but for this class, we're gonna talk about only system of two linear equations. Now, those of you who are going to business major, you're going to take fine art math class, and in that math class, you're going to talk about system of more linear equations, okay? Also, there is another different math class, which is called linear algebra. In that math class, we're solving linear equations with many equations, and there are many different methods of solving it. So for this class, in algebra, we're gonna talk about elimination method and substitution method, and I'm gonna explain all of those, okay? Okay, so how you solve system of linear equations? There are different methods. So first, if you have two linear equations, so they make a system of linear equations, and the system has solution, which is a point, because the solution for the system is always you have to have number for x and number for y. That's why the solution for the system of linear equation is a point. Why it's a point? Because linear equation, the graph of linear equation, it's a straight line. So if you have two straight lines, the all possible cases between two straight lines are you can have two parallel lines. That's one of the cases. You can have two lines which cross each other. That's the second case. And you can have also two lines in top of each other. And I'm just going to do it like this. They're the same line. Okay? So these are the three possible cases for two straight lines. So obviously, if you have two parallel lines, the common solution for this system is going to be no solution, right? There's no solution because they'll never cross each other. And in this case, the system is inconsistent. Okay, so when the system have two equations which are represented by straight lines, and the two lines are parallel to each other, they will never cross each other. So that means they have no common solution. So when you solve a system of equation, you're trying to find what they have in common. If they're parallel, they'll never cross each other. So that's the case when the system have no solution. Okay? And the system is called inconsistent. Now, what's happened if you have two lines which cross each other? Whatever they cross, that's the point of the solution. And the solution is x, comma, y. Always the first number is the number for x, and the second number is the number for y. So that's the solution, that's the common solution, x and comma y. So that's how you find it. That's how you represent the solution. And then the third case is when you have two lines which are represented with, they are technically the same lines. They are the same equation. They represent the same line. And looks like the graph looks like the lines on top of each other. So in this case, you have infinite number solutions because any point from each line, it's a solution. And the lines continue forever, right? So this is the case when the system is dependent and you have general solution. I'm going to write it here. General solution, and the system is called dependent. Okay, the system is dependent, and the solution is going to be, I'll show you how to write the general solution. It's a set of solution, a lot of points, a solution for that system. Now, the second case, when you have one solution, this system is called independent. Independent. Okay? That's the name of the system. And the solution is the point x comma y. Okay? Everybody understand this? Any questions? So this is something like we have with one equation. If you have one equation, you can have one solution, you can have no solution, you can have all real number solutions, right? Identity. Remember the equation was called identity. Also, if you have one solution, or you can have no solution, right? So now, I'm going to show the methods of solving in a minute. Now, the first, number one, they ask you, is that dependent or independent? So you need to solve this to see if it's dependent or independent, right? Because in the process of solving, you're going to find if it's dependent or independent. So I'm going to show you that in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and do number two. And number two, it's asking if the pair 1 and 8 is a solution or not a solution of this system. So how you know? And you can use that every time you solve a system, you can check your solution. You can check if the answer you get is a correct answer. And this is how you check it. So you're going to plug it in. X is going to be 1, y is going to be 8. You're going to plug it in both of the equations. And if it's true statement, it's a solution. If it's wrong, it's a no solution, right? So how you plug it in? X is 1, so it's going to be 3. I'm going to put 1 plus, I'm going to put the y here, equals 11. So I'm going to plug in the first equation. And you're going to also plug it in into the second equation. The second equation is x minus 3. I'm going to put y equals negative 23. So what you're doing, you're replacing x is 1. Both of the x's is 1. And the y is 8. Replace y with 8. And then you're going to double check. So the first equation will give me 3 times 1 is 3. Plus 8 equals 11. Is that true? Yes, 8 plus 3 is 11, yes? And then you're going to check the second equation. You have 1 minus 3 times 8 is 24. Is that equals negative 23? Yes, it is. So both of those statements are right. They're right statements. So that's why this is a solution. So you're going to put is. And when you click here, you're going to see the answer is or is not solution. Is a solution. Okay? Everybody understand how we check that? Any questions? Okay? So now, how you do that? How you solve actually? How you going to solve a system of equations? There are two methods we're going to talk about. One of them is elimination. The other one is substitution method. And I'm going to do number one also in a minute. Now, I'm going to show you both of the methods. It doesn't matter what it says, you can use one of those methods. And usually elimination is easy one, but I'm going to show you both of those methods. Elimination is easier, and most people like elimination more. But I'm going to show you both of those, and after you pick one method you like, you can use that method all the time, okay? Now there are more methods. I told you there's another class, math class, which is called linear algebra, and there are tons of like, I don't know, I'm not going to say 100 methods, but a lot of methods to solve system of linear equations, okay? But we're going to talk about only those two, elimination and substitution. So how you do elimination, which is easier one, and if you like it, you can use it all the time. So this is the elimination method. So you have the two equations like this, where x and x on top of each other like this, and y like this, right? So what you want to do, you want to make the numbers in front of x or the numbers in front of y, pick which one of those you want to start with. You want to make them the same numbers with opposite sign. So when you add the two equations, x is going to cancel or y is going to cancel. So they're going to eliminate. So when you cancel x or y, you're going to get equation only with one variable, and you can solve it. You can find the number for x or y. Okay, so how you start? Usually I start with the x or y, depends which one have plus or minus, because you need the opposite sign. In this case, in front of x I have 3, in front of the bottom x I have -1. So both of those are positive and negative, and that's why I want to start with x. See, the y have +9 and +5. So that's why I start with x. Now, what I want to make both of those should be the same number, 3, right? So the first one is 3, the second one is -1. If I multiply the second equation by 3, it's going to be -3. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to multiply the whole equation by 3. And what I'm going to get? I'm going to get -3x. 3 times 5 is plus 15y equals, now what is 3 times -3? -9. So the second equation, you change it when you multiply by 3. It's still the same equation, but it's multiplied by 3, everything by 3. So when you multiply, make sure you multiply the whole equation so you don't change it. And then I'm going to copy the first equation, it's going to stay the same. 3x plus 9y equals 9. And then I'm going to add those two equations. So when I add 3x minus 3x is 0, right? They cancel out. And then what is left? 9 plus 15y, how many y's? 24y, right? Equals, what is 9 minus 9? That's 0. Okay? So we have, see, when x cancel out, you have equation with y. And you're going to solve this equation. And you're going to find what is y equals. How you solve it? Between 24 and y, there is a multiplication. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide by 24, both sides. And then that's going to give me y equals 0. Everybody so far so good? Any questions? Okay. Then after you find your y, it's a number. There are two ways from here. You can plug that number in one of the equation and you're going to find the x, or you can eliminate y and find x. So when you cancel x, you're going to find y. When you cancel y, you're going to find x. Okay? Any questions? So let's find x. How you find x? You replace y is 0. And you can pick any equations. I'm going to use the first one. So I'm going to plug in the first equation, y is 0. So I have 3x plus 9 times 0 equals 9. See, when I plug it in 0 for y, this is what I have. And then 9 times 0 is 0. So my equation is 3x equals 9. And you're solving it when you divide by 3 both sides. and you're going to get x equals 3. So this is the solution, x equals 3 and y equals 0. Okay, any questions? Now, how you write your solution? The first number is always x, the second number is always y. So when I put my answer should be 3, 0. This is how your solution looks like. 3, 0. Okay, and that's what you're going to put there. So you're going to plug it in 3, 0. And you don't put parentheses because you already have parentheses around the box, the answer box. So around the answer box, you have parentheses. So you don't put parentheses, just put 3, 0. Okay? Any questions? Everybody understand this method? So this is the easiest method, the easier method to do that. Let me know. You guys have any questions? So here's the second method. Substitution. So how you solve system of equation by substitution? So this is what you're going to do. We're going to solve one of the equation for x or y, and you're going to substitute. You're going to plug it in into this other equation. So you decide you can solve the first equation for x or y, whatever you want. Just decide which one you're going to solve for. And then you have to substitute into the second equation. Or you can do it backwards. You can solve the first equation and substitute into the first equation. Doesn't matter. Okay? So pick one. How I pick. So this is the tip I'm gonna give you. Usually I pick, look at the x's and the y, the numbers in front of x and y, and pick the one with the smallest number. So I'm gonna solve for x into the first equation. So I'm going to take the first equation and I'm going to get x by itself. I'm going to say what is x equals. So how you do that? I'm going to solve it in the side. See, that's why you have involved a lot of solving, right? So I'm going to take 6x plus 7y equals 6. And I'm going to get x by itself. So I'm going to subtract 7y in both sides. This cancel. So I get 6x equals 6 minus 7y. I'm going to copy those because they're not like terms. You don't add them. And then you're going to divide by 6, everything over 6. And this is my x, right? You solve for x. So over here, I'm going to write x equals 6 minus 7y, everything over 6. So this is my x. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this x is all this fraction, and I'm going to replace this x with the fraction. So I'm going to get 12. When I substitute into the second equation, I'm going to put my fraction here, minus 21y equals 5. And in the place of x, I'm going to put 6 minus 7y over 6. So we're substituting x with whatever you solve for. So here what you need to remember is if you solve for x in the first equation, you substitute into the second equation for x. So you have to be careful. If you solve for y, you have to substitute for y. Okay? And also don't use the same equation. You have to use both of those. So if you solve the first, you plug it in into the second. If you solve the second, you plug it in into the first equation. Okay? So from here, after you substitute, you're going to get one equation with only y or only x, one variable. And then you're going to solve it again. So how you solve? You're going to just here multiply first. So 12 and 6, 12 divided by 6 is 2. And this is 1. And then you're going to multiply. So 2 times 6, 2 times negative 7. So that's 12 minus 14y minus 21y equals 5. And you're going to solve this. So I'm going to add minus 12y. I'm going to add those two. and I'm going to subtract 12 to move it over. So we have negative 14 minus 21 is going to be negative 35y equals 5 minus 12 is negative 7. And then, see, I get equation only y. I'm going to divide by negative 35. And that's going to give me y. So we get y equals, what is y equals? Negative over negative, it's positive. I can divide by 7 up and down, so it's going to be 1/5. So y is 1/5, right? So after we find what is y, we're going to plug it back in one of the equations, and you're going to find x. Now here, when you plug back, it's easier to plug back into the substitution over here. So it's going to be x equals 6 minus 7, 1/5, everything over 6. I know it looks like complex, but you can use a calculator to plug it in exactly the way it is, and you can solve it. So here we can, if you want, you can use symbol up, or we can just simplify this. Let's simplify it real quick. I can multiply up and down by 5 to cancel the fraction. So multiply by 5. And that's gonna cancel this fraction. So 6 times 5, and this time this. So we're gonna get 6 times 5 is 30, minus 7 over 30. Because when I multiply 1/5 times 5 cancel, so just 7 left. And what is 30 minus 7 is 23 over 30. So this is my x. And how you write your answer? The answer is going to be x comma y. So I'm going to put x first, which is 23 over 30. And y is 1/5. So this is my answer. This is how you put your answer as a fraction, two fractions. Okay? So I'm going to put 23 over 30, comma 1/5. Okay? Any questions on this? So which method you like? I need to charge my computer. So which method you like more? Substitution or elimination?
I think substitution.
Substitution, okay. So this is the substitution when you plug it in. Okay. Somebody else? You can use both of those methods. Now, when you have x and y, easy to simplify, you can add them. See, like number 1, let's do number 1. We didn't finish that. Let's do that real quick. So when you have equation like number 1, you see x and y are already the same with opposite sign. So obviously when I add those two equations, this is gonna cancel, right? Y minus y is 0. So you add in 1x plus 1x give me 2x equals 9 plus 2 is 11, right? And then I divide by 2, and that's gonna give me x, right? So you can solve it. So if you have solution, is it dependent or independent? If you have one solution.
Independent.
Independent, that's right. So the solution, they're not asking for the solution, they're asking dependent or independent. In this case, it's independent, okay? So everybody understand that? Any questions? Okay.
I guess
yes.
I guess my only question on that number 1.
Yes.
I guess my only question would be So if the X and the Y are canceled out, we're
Yes,
just adding down like X,
yes,
2X and then 11 equals 11,
yes,
and then we just solve.
yes.
Okay, now you
Exactly.
said that the 11 over 2, what
Is
makes
the
it
X.
independent? What makes it independent that we're able to
Yes,
solve it?
yes, thank you for asking. So what makes it independent? Because you have X equals one number. So
Oh, okay.
independent is only one solution. If dependent is when you have many solutions. So when you solve a system and it's dependent, when you try to solve it, you're gonna get 0 equals 0. See, X is gonna cancel and Y is gonna cancel, and everything is gonna cancel. So when you get 0 equals 0, that's dependent. Now, when you try to solve it and you get inconsistent, which means you're going to get 0 equals something else, like 0 equals 5, for example. So if you get two different numbers equals to each other, then you have no solution.
Okay, so if X equals 0 or if 0 equals any number, then
No X equals 0. If
okay.
X cancel out and Y cancel out, and the numbers in the other side cancel out, you get 0 equals 0, then that's dependent. Okay?
Okay, let me write that down. Okay.
Yes.
So
Okay.
if X or Y
Y,
equals
both of
if
those cancel.
cancel, if X and Y
Yes.
cancel,
Yes.
that's
If X and
dependent.
Y cancel, no, listen. If X and Y cancel and you have left with 0 equals 0, that means the numbers also cancel. If you get 0 equals 0, then it's a dependent. But if
Okay.
if X and Y cancel and the number doesn't cancel, let's say you have 0 equals 5, then it's no solution.
Or
Okay?
or inconsistent.
Yes, that's right. The system is inconsistent and the system have no solution.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Welcome. Yes, thank you for asking that to kind of clarify them. Okay, everybody understand that? Any questions? Okay. So this is how you solve the system with substitution elimination method, and we're going to do one more system of equation. We're going to do one more application problem, and then we're going to take a break. So number 5, it's we have to solve this. We're going to solve this word problem application with system of equations. And this problem doesn't have formula or something. You just have to use your common sense. So here, for each sales staff, a company offered 2 salary options. Option 1, pay $350 per week plus a commission of 3.75% of sales. And option 2 is $225 per week plus 4.5% of the sales. We need to find the equation to express the incomes as a function of the sales. And X is how much you are selling for, what you're selling, right? So tell me, you're selling something, cars, houses, whatever, doesn't matter. And they pay you $350 per week, and they also give you a commission of 3.75% of the sales. How are you gonna calculate your paycheck for that week? So, any ideas?
X equals 350 times 3.75%.
Is it gonna be 3? Where's the X though?
The X would be the amount of
Yes, but
that we
there's
need to
no.
figure out.
Okay, so what you're gonna be the option 1? Can you say it one more time? You said 350?
Uh,
X it's 3.75x.
350
Plus
plus, okay.
3.75x.
Yes, okay, you're almost there. Now, let's think about if you find percent of the cells, are you gonna multiply by 3.75 or the decimal form of 3.75?
The decimal point.
Decimal point. Good job. Good job. You solve it. Yes. So you're gonna change 3.75 to decimal, which is what?
0.03.7, 75.
X. Yes.
0.375, yeah.
X. And you make sure you put the X after that. Okay? So that's it. That's the equation. You're gonna get paid 350 for sure. 350, even if you don't sell anything, plus the commission. Okay, that's the keyword here, plus. Okay? And then the second equation is going to be the same way. The equation of your paycheck is going to be 225 plus, then you're going to change 4.5% to decimal, 0.045x multiplied by x, right? Everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay, so there is no formula, there's nothing, just use your common sense. Finding percent of sales, it's multiplying decimal form times x and adding the base salary. This is kind of base salary, 350. We're gonna pay you 350 plus the commission, okay? So that's how you set up the two equations. And then the next question is find the weekly sales level that produce equal salaries. So what they're saying, what is X? So you have option 1 equals option 2. So they're saying how much you need to sell for so you can get the same paycheck for option 1 and option 2. So what you need to do is just solve this like a system of equations, or technically solve S1 equals S2, and you technically have to solve 350 plus 0.0375x equals 225 plus 0.045x. So that's what you have to solve. You have to solve this equation. Okay? Do you know how to solve this? Move x's in one side, move the numbers in the other side, right? So I'm going to subtract 225 in both sides. And I'm going to subtract 0.0375x. And then I'm going to get 350. What is 350 minus 225? 125, right? And when you subtract 0.045, I'm gonna get 0.075x. Okay? Everybody following me? Are you guys here in the same page with me?
Yes.
And then you're going to divide by 0.0075 both sides. And you're going to get x equals, what you get? 16,000, right? $666.67. You round up. Okay? And that's your answer. So you have to sell for that week something, whatever you're selling, houses, or I don't know if you're gonna get house for 16,000, but let's say cars for 16,666 and 67 cents. That's what you need to sell for that week to get the same paycheck in the end of the week. Okay? Any questions, let me know. No questions? Okay, so let's take a little break. Okay, so we're going to continue with the conic sections, which is the next part of this lab 5. And I'm going to start with a little video I'm going to share with you. So let's look at this video to see what conic sections are.
Things that we could graph. But there is one class of figures called conic sections that will be very important. First, let's learn what this term means. Take this three-dimensional right circular double-napped cone. We can create different two-dimensional figures by taking a plane and swiping through the cone in different ways. If the plane goes from one side of the cone to the other and is parallel to the base, we get a circle. If the plane does the same thing but is not parallel to the base, we get an ellipse. If the plane cuts from the side of the cone down through the base, we get a parabola. And if the plane cuts all the way from one base to the other, we get a hyperbola. So these are called conic sections because they are literally different cross sections of a cone.
Okay, so everybody understand that? So you have a cone, three-dimensional shape, and when you cut it in different way, you're gonna get different sections, which are called circle, ellipse, parabola, and hyperbola. Now in this video, he explains how to get the equations, and all these equations are given in your formula sheet. So I'll show you that in a second. So now just remember, the circle looks like this. This is the circle. The ellipse, it's something like a circle, but a little open in one dimension. Now, parabola is the one we talk about week, I think was week, when we talk about quadratic equation of parabola, finding the vertex. So that was week, which one? Week 2 or 3? I don't remember. 2? No, week 3, right?
Week 3.
Yes, week 3. So this is the vertex of parabola, right? So equation of parabola is quadratic equation, and the vertex is right here in this point. This is the vertex of parabola, right? And the parabola is up and up or up and down, depends what the first number is, right? So we talk about parabola, we're going to talk about circle, ellipse, and hyperbola today. Now, the equation of circle, ellipse, and hyperbola, they're also quadratics. So they have x squared and y squared in it, okay? So the parabola has y and x squared, okay? And it's a parabola and numbers. Hyperbola, circle, and ellipse, they have x squared and y squared. Both of those are quadratic. So ellipse have x squared and y squared also. And circle has x squared and y squared. I'm going to show you the equations in a second. But just keep in mind, the parabola has y and x squared. We talked about parabola already. Today we're going to talk about circle, ellipse, and hyperbola. The equations of those three shapes, they have x squared and y squared in that equations, okay? So now let me show you how the equation looks like. So I'm going to go to the formula sheet because in the formula sheet you have everything there. So this is the equation of circle. So the equation of circle is right here. Okay? So the equation is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And r is the radius of the circle. Okay? So if I look here, the radius is from the center of the circle, this is the center, to any point. So this is the radius, okay? The distance from the center to any point is called radius, and that's how the equation looks like. X squared plus y squared equals r squared. And this equation of the circle has radius r, and the center is at 0, 0, when the center is at the origin. If the center is somewhere else, the equation is going to look a little different, but you don't have that. And I can write the equation here so you can have it. So if the center is somewhere else, center is h and k. the equation is going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So this is the equation of circle with center something else, h and k. Okay? So now, the next shape we're talking about is ellipse. So ellipse looks like this. And the ellipse can be open horizontal or vertical. So looking at my graph here, I have a graph of ellipse. See this here, it's a horizontal ellipse. It's open to the x-axis. And the major axis is x-axis. Major axis is how it's open. So this is how the major axis x looks like. The major axis y looks like this. This is the graph of major axis y. So if it's upside down, it's major axis y because the major axis is from this point to this point. Those 2 points are called vertices. And the center is in the middle. So you have the center here. You have the vertex, 2 vertices. And you have 2 points which are the focuses. We're going to talk about those 2 points in a minute. And we have major axis. So from vertex to vertex is called major axis. And the perpendicular one from this point to this point is called minor axis. So this is minor axis and the red one is the major axis. So if it's open horizontal, it's a major axis x. If it's open upside down, the major axis is y. See, this is what you have, major axis y, major axis x. So the equation of ellipse, there are actually 4 equations. So you have this one, this one, this one, and this one. There are 4 different types of ellipse. Now, what are the 4 different types? If the center is 0, 0, so you have 0, 0, you have one of those 2 equations. If the center is h and k means something else, you have one of those 2. And how you know which one of those you have? If it's major axis x means if it's open horizontal, you're going to have this, the first equation here. If you have major axis y, you're going to have this equation. So these are the 4 cases. So when you have to solve a problem, you're going to look first, what is the center, what is the major axis, okay? So if the center is 0, 0, and the major axis is y, which equation you're going to have? First, second, third, or fourth equation. Center 0, 0, major axis y. Which one it is?
2.
That's right. It's going to be equation 2. Because the center 0, 0, major axis y is going to be exactly equation 2. Good job. Now let me ask you, if the center is h and k and major axis x, which equation you're going to have? Let's say center 5 and 6 and major axis x.
3.
Good job. It's going to be equation 3. Yes. So that's how you decide which one of those equations you're going to have. So there are 4 different cases. Depends what is given. If the center 0, 0 or if the center something else. And then it's going to say also major axis x or major axis y. If it doesn't say which one is the major axis, this is how you know. If the major axis is x, if the x coordinate is changing, major axis is y. If the y coordinate is changing, what that means? That means if you have 2 points given, you can easily say which one is changing, right? So for example, if I have given center 0, 0, and let's say you have a vertex at 2 and 0. Which one is changing, x or y? The first number is x. The second number is always y. Is the x change or the y change?
X.
X, that's right. X is changing. So if you have 2 points like this given, the x is changing. That means the major axis is x. The one changing is your major axis, okay? So that's how you know. and it's here in the formula sheet. Major axis is x if the x coordinate is changing. Major axis is y if the y coordinate change. Okay, whatever is changing, that's your major axis. Okay, so that's how you decide which one of those equations you're gonna get. And then after you get the equation, pick the equation, in that equation you have to put a and b, because looking close to the equations, all of those, they look the same. So the equation of ellipse have x squared, y squared, and a and b, and they have two fractions with plus. So that's how they look like. Fraction plus fraction equals 1, right? This is like how the equation looks like. So in these equations, you have to find what is a and what is b. So now what is a, what is b? You have it right here. Okay? So a is the distance from center to vertex. So this is a. From center to vertex is a. Or also half of the major axis. So half of the major or center to vertex is a. Half of the minor axis is b. So this part here from here to here is b. Okay? And c, so if you have a and b, you have everything to find the equation pretty much. Half of the major, half of the minor give you a and b, and you have a and b in the equation. And if you have a and b, you're good to go. You have the equation. You'll find the equation. But sometimes you don't have a and b. You have, sometimes they give you the c, which is the center to focus. And the focus is those 2 points inside. They're not in the middle. So focus to center, it's the letter C. And the focus is the 2 points you use to graph the vertex, the ellipse. So focus is an important point you're using to graph the ellipse. And sometimes they're going to give you the focuses. How you graph them? If you nail two, I'm going to show you a video how to graph it, just a second. So here it is. So you put paper, you put the center, and you put the foci. And you put the pins. So these are the pins. You put the pins into the foci. Okay? And then you connect it with a string. I think he's changing the foci. You see that? So he's moving the foci. Okay, everybody understand that? So that's how you graph. That's how you graph ellipse using the vertices and the foci. So the foci are very important points we're using to graph them. So if you put the pins in the focuses, focus 1, focus 2, and then connect it to the string and open the string, you're gonna draw the ellipse. Okay? So sometimes they're gonna give you the distance from the center to the focus, which is called the which is called C, the letter C, okay? And then if you have A, B, or if you don't have A and B, you have C and A or C and B, you can use these are the formulas to find A, and this is the formula to find B, okay? So you can find A and B even if you have given C. So let's start solving some problems so you can see exactly how this works. So let's start with number 6 and 7. It's about circle. And circle, it's the first one we have. And this is circle also. So let's start with the circles. So what you have given? We have given equation of the circle. And we have to find what is the center, what is the radius. Now, the form I give you here in the formula sheet, okay, this formula here, it's x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And this is called standard form. Okay, standard form, it's, I'm gonna write it here. So standard form is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. And the general form is equals 0. See here, equals 0 is the general form. So if I move r over, the equation become x squared plus y squared minus r squared equals 0. So it's the same equation, just move everything in the same side, equals 0 is going to be a general form. Okay? So here what you need to do. For number 6, we have to find the center and the radius. So if the equation is x squared plus y squared, then what is the center? 0, 0, right? Everybody see that? So if the equation is x squared plus y squared, the center is always going to be 0, 0. And what is the radius? You're going to get the radius from the number. So we have r squared equals 81. So what is r? When you do number times number is 81. What is r?
9.
9. That's it. Everybody understanding this? Okay, so that's all what you're doing. If you have x squared plus y squared, if the center is 0, 0, and the radius is square root of the given number. Okay, then the next one, we have to write the equation. So here what they give us center 0, 0, that's the center here, 0, 0. Oops, it's moving, sorry. And then they give me a point. Now the point has coordinates x and y. Okay, and the center is 0, 0. This is the center, 0, 0, right? So if the center is 0, 0, and they give me the point, 1 point on the circle. So what I'm going to do, I need to find the standard form. The equation is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. I'm going to use x and y from the point. So x is negative 3 squared. Y is 2 squared equals r squared. I'm going to find r squared. So negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. Plus 2 times 2 is 4, which give me 13, right? So r squared is 13. So that means the equation become x squared plus y squared equals 13. And this is my first answer. So this is my standard form. Everybody understand that? Standard form? Okay, so that's how you find the equation in standard form. Now, general form, we have to move x and y, right, in the same side and the number over. So when I subtract 13 in both sides to make it equal 0, the general form is going to be x squared plus y squared minus 13 equals 0. This is the answer for general form. Now, when you put your answer in Weber sign, it's going to have a little math part in the side, so you can enter everything there. Okay? Any questions on this? Everybody understand how to get the equation of the circle?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So that's how you find the equation of the circle. Now, the next question, we're going to talk about ellipse. We're going to find the equation of ellipse. But before that, they asked me to identify, is this equation circle, parabola, ellipse, or hyperbola? Okay? So how you know? Looking at my formula sheet, I know that equation of ellipse is fraction plus fraction, right? Let's compare with the equation of hyperbola. Hyperbola looks like fraction minus fraction equals 1. Okay? So that's the difference between ellipse and hyperbola. So if you change a little plus between the fraction, when you change it to minus, the graph change, the shape change, okay? So you see how important the minus and pluses are? So if it's plus in the middle, so if this sign is plus, it's ellipse. If this sign is minus, it's a hyperbola, okay? And also I told you if it's x squared and y, it's a parabola. And if you have x squared plus y squared, it's a circle. So looking at my question here, what you have? Is it circle, parabola, ellipse, or hyperbola? What do you think it is?
Hyperbola?
Yes, it's a hyperbola because of this minus, right? Yes? So the right answer is a hyperbola. That's how you know. That's how you pick which one it is. Okay? Everybody understanding that? Okay, so then let's look at number 9. We're going to solve actually a problem. So we have given ellipse. So we know it's an ellipse. That means I'm going to look at my formula sheet. I'm going to look at the top of my formula sheet, right? I mean, the difference between ellipse and hyperbola is just that negative sign, okay? There's not too much difference, but that negative is going to change the whole graph, okay? So the equations looks the same, just the negative is changed. So right now we have ellipse. So we're going to look at the top of your formula sheet. And what you have, the center is at the origin. Origin means 0, 0, right? So you have center 0, 0. Also, they said the major axis is 10, located on the x-axis. So they told me the major axis is x, center 0, 0, right? So which one of those 4 equations you're going to have? If the center is 0, 0, major axis is x. Which equation you're going to use? 1, 2, 3, 4. Which one?
1.
1. Because you have center 0, 0, major axis x. So using equation 1. And I'm going to copy that equation here because that's how my answer is going to look like. So the equation is going to be x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. So this is how my answer is going to look like. Now in this formula, I have to replace a and b. What is a and b? A is half of the major, b is half of the minor, right? So they already give me. Major axis is 10. So from the major axis, I'm going to get a. And from the minor axis, I'm going to get b. So can you tell me what is a, what is b?
Be 5 and 2.
Yes, half of the major is 5, half of 10 is 5, half of 4 is 2. So we have a is 5, b is 2, right? So what you need to do is just replace A and B in this formula, and that's going to be the answer. So my answer is x squared over, what is A squared? 5 times 5 is 25 plus y squared over, what is B squared? 2 times 2 is 4 equals 1. And that's my answer. And that's what you're going to put in the answer box. Again, you're going to use the MathPad. So you can do fractions, you can do squares, and just leave it like that. Okay? Any questions? Everybody understand this? You got it? Okay, let's do the next one. The next one is another ellipse. And it says what it says. The center is at the origin, right? So that means the center is 0, 0 again. And what else they give me? They give me the focus is 3 and 0. So looking at those 2 points, can you tell me what is your major axis? Is it x or y? Which coordinate is changing? That's how you know.
X.
X is changing. Good job. So x is changing. Let me make it like this. See, the first one is x, the second one is y, and the x is changing. So that's why the major is x. Center 0, 0. So which one you're going to use? Which formula? Center 0, 0, major axis x.
1.
1 again, that's right. Oh, sorry. So I'm going to write the equation I'm going to get. My equation is going to be x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. This is how my answer is going to look like. Now I need to find a and b. So let's see what is given. We have given the focus and major axis. So from the focus, you're going to find C. From the major axis, you're going to find A. Okay? Because that's what it says in the formula sheet here. See, C is focus to center. So C is from the focus. Minor axis is B. Vertex and major give you A. Vertex and major give you A. Minor give you B. Focus give you C. Okay? It's right here. If you forget, just look here. Okay? So from the focus, you're going to find C. What is C? C is going to be 3. And major axis is 16. So what is A? Half of the major, right? So what is A? It's going to be 8, right? Because 16 divided by 2 is 8. Everybody understand that? So now we have A's 8. So what is A squared? 8 times 8 is 64. So what I'm doing, I'm going to replace A squared with 64. And I need to find B squared. So how are you going to find B squared? We don't have B, we have C. So looking at my formula sheet, I'm going to use this formula here. If I need to find A, I'm going to use the first. If I need to find B, I'm going to use the second one. So B squared is A squared minus C squared. So that's what I'm using. B squared is A squared minus C squared. So what is that? A squared is 64 minus, what is C squared? 3 times 3 is 9, right? So what you have, 64 minus 9 is 55, right? So what you get? we get b squared is 55. Okay, so we have b squared 55. So that's what you're going to replace b squared with, 55. Okay, everybody see that? So after you find a squared and b squared, you're done. You're just going to rewrite the equation. The answer is going to be x squared over 64 plus y squared over 55 equals 1. Make sure when you put your answer in the answer box, make sure it looks exactly like that. Use lowercase x and y, and make sure you always put it equal 1. Okay? Any questions on number 10?
I have a question.
Yes.
I got lost on how you found the focus C to be 3. So did you
Okay.
just take it from the 3, 0?
Yes. Thank you for asking. Yes. So how you get the focus is 3? Because the center is 0, 0, and the focus is 3, 0. So I'm going to draw a little picture here so you can see. So in the number line, I'm going to write it here. If the center is here 0 and the focus is at 3, I'm sorry. This is the focus, right? So center to focus is C, right? So you count from 0 to 3. What is the distance? 1, 2, 3, right? You count the steps. 1, 2, 3. Okay? So the distance from 0 to 3 is 3. Make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay? Any other questions? Yeah, that's a good question, and thank you for asking, because you're going to use that in a little bit also. Going to find the distance from the center to the focus center to vertex center to whatever is given, right? Okay? Any questions? Everybody good so far? So you have to look at the formula sheet to get the equations. And remember, A, B, and C are numbers. You have to find them. Also, remember, A, B, C are always positive numbers because they're distances. A is the distance from center to vertex, and it's half of the major axis. B is also half of the minor. It's a positive number. C is center to focus. It's always positive number. Okay? So let's go ahead and do number 11. You guys ready for 11? Let's do 11. So here again we have ellipse. We're going to look at the same part of the formula sheet. And what is given is center at the origin. Okay, so the center is 0, 0. Okay, what else is given? We have focus 0, 8. And you have vertex 0, 9. So which coordinate is changing, x or y?
Why?
The y is
Y.
changing, right? Okay. So we have center 0, 0. We have major axis is y. So let's see which equation we're going to use. Center 0, 0, major axis y. So what is the equation?
Second.
The second equation, that's right. So we're going to use the second equation. Everybody see that? This one. The equation, what is the difference between the first one? You have y squared over a squared. So if the major axis is y is over the major axis, the a. That's the difference, okay? So that's what you're going to use. You're going to have y squared. I'm going to just copy the equation here. So the equation we're going to get is going to be y squared over a squared plus x squared over b squared equals 1. So this is how my answer is going to look like. Now I have to find a and b, right? So Center to focus is C. Center to vertex is A, right? So focus is going to give me C. And vertex is going to give me A. So what is A?
Nine.
9, that's right. So A is 9. So what is A squared? 81, right? So the first number is 81 here. Now, let's find what is B. We don't have B, we have C. What is C? What is the number for C?
8.
8. Good job. A is 8. So, I'm sorry, C is 8. So what is C squared?
64.
64, that's right. So we need to find B. We're going to use the formula for B, the same formula, B squared. See this one. So B squared is A squared minus C squared. So you're using the same formula. So we have B squared is A squared minus C squared. So it's going to be 81 minus 64. And what is that?
17.
What? 17. Thank you. Good job. 17. So we're going to replace B squared with 17. And we have the answer. We have everything we need to write the equation. So the answer is going to be y squared over 81 plus x squared over 17 equals 1. And always remember, for ellipse, major axis is always bigger than the minor axis. Okay? That's not the case for hyperbola, but for ellipse, always the major is bigger than the minor. Okay? So that's the equation. That's what you're going to put in the answer box. Okay? Any questions about ellipse? Do you guys want 5 minutes break before you go to hyperbola? So here's the hyperbola. So what you have different with ellipse is just different type of formulas. So instead of looking up here where the equation of ellipse is, you're going to look down here. Okay? So that's the only difference. Because I told you the difference between ellipse and hyperbola is the sign. Ellipse has plus, hyperbola has minus. So that's the only difference. Pretty much everything else is the same. So that plus and minus changes the graph. So from a little circle, closed circle, the graph become open like this. This is the graph of hyperbola. Okay? And hyperbola has the same things. You have center 0, 0. Center HK means something else. And again, major axis is X, major axis is Y. Depends which coordinate is changing. The same idea. Now, center is in here. The vertices, the vertex give you A, which is half of the major. Half of the minor is B. And focus give you C. So the same idea, everything is the same, just the plus and minus change. The equation change a little bit. So when you solve equations for hyperbola, we're just going to look at the bottom formula sheet. So let's start with number 12. We have a hyperbola here. So it's not ellipse, it's a hyperbola. So we're going to look at the bottom formula sheet. So be careful which part of the formula sheet you're looking at. And let's see what is given. We have center 0, 0, right? And which coordinate is changing? We have given focus and vertex. So is X changing or Y changing? Let me put it like under each other so you can see better. So I have center 0, 0. We have focus -10 and 0. And you have vertex at 6 and 0. So which coordinate is changing? X or Y?
X.
X.
That's right, the major axis is X because X is changing. See, the first number is X, the second number is Y, stays 0, 0, 0, Y is the same, 0. So major axis X, center 0, 0. So let's see which form you're going to use. So in hyperbola, center 0, 0, major axis X is this equation, right? The first one. So I'm going to copy that equation and that's going to be my answer. So my equation should be x squared. Oops, let me use the other one, the other color. So the answer I'm going to get is x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. So make sure you copy everything. And minus in the middle between the fractions. So now, let's see what is given. They give me the vertex, which is going to give me A. And also they give me the focus, which is going to give me the C, right? The letter lowercase c. So what is the vertex? What is A? That's right, the A is 6. And what is C?
-10.
Okay, thank you for saying -10. Now, remember, A, B, C are always positive numbers, right? So what is going to be C? Positive 10. Now, why is positive 10? Let me show you in the picture here. See, you have one center here. You have two vertices, right? One here and one here. So in this case was 6, and there's another one at -6, right? But the distance from center to vertex is the same. It's 6, positive 6. Okay? Now the focus is, one focus is at 10, the other focus is going to be at -10, right? But what is C? Center to focus, the distance is positive 10. Always the distance is positive. Okay? So remember, A, B, C are always positive numbers. Okay? And there are also two of those. You have one vertex in the left side, one vertex in the right side. One focus in the left side of the center, another focus in the right side of the center. Yes? Everybody get that? So in this case, you have given, in this case, they give you -10 and they give you the positive 6. So they give you 6 and -10. So that means the focus from -10 to 0 is going to be positive 10. And from 0 to 6, the distance is 6. Make sense? So that's why you have A is 6, C is 10, positive 10. Okay? So if A is 6, what is A squared? 6 times 6? 36. And you're going to replace A squared is 36. Now we have to find B. Okay? I have A squared and I have C squared is going to be 100. 10 times 10 is 100. And I need to use the formula to find B. Now, because we're doing hyperbola right now, that's why we're going to use this formula to find B. We're not using the one for ellipse. There are different formulas for hyperbola. And see, the difference is, again, there's a little difference. See, the other one was B squared. It's A squared minus C squared. See, this is the one for ellipse. For hyperbola, it's C squared minus A squared. It's backwards, okay? So if you're working with hyperbola, you're looking at only the bottom formula sheet. So B squared is C squared minus A squared. So I have B squared, C squared minus A squared. And then you're going to plug the numbers. C squared is 100 minus A squared is 36. When you subtract those, it's going to be 64. Okay, so B squared, we found that B squared is 64, and you're going to replace the B squared with 64. Okay, and then you're just going to rewrite the equation. So my answer is going to be x squared over 36 minus y squared over 64 equals 1. And this is what you're going to put in your answer box. That's your answer. That's the equation of hyperbola with center 0, 0, vertex 6, 0, and focus 10, negative 10, 0. Okay, any questions? So the same idea, just you look at the bottom formula sheet. Okay, let's do one more. One more like that. So how you gonna do this one? We're gonna do the same way. The same way. Come on now. Okay. I just want to I need a little more room for this one. Okay. So how you do the next one? It's another hyperbola. So gonna work with hyperbola formula sheet. And here what you have is center -1 and 3. So here the center is not 0, 0. The center is H and K, right? So now let's see what is changing. We have center -1 and 3. We have focus 3 and 3. And we have vertex 1 and 3. So which one is changing, X or Y?
X.
X is changing, good job. X is changing, Y is the same. So the center is H and K and the major axis is X, right? So the equation we're gonna get, let's see which equation we're gonna use. So we have center H and K and major axis X. So this is gonna be the equation we're gonna use. Everybody see that? It's a little bigger equation, but we already have H and K, so it's the same idea. So the equation we're gonna get is X minus H squared over A squared minus Y minus K squared B squared in the bottom equals 1. You see again, X is above A because major axis is X. That's how I remember them. Okay, so now we have the equation. We copy the same equation. We're just going to find A, B. We already have H and K, right? So H is -1 is H. And K is, what is K? 3. Right? We already have H and K from the center. Center give you H and K. Everybody see that? So now we have to find A and B. So let's do that. So we have A is from the vertex, we're gonna get A, right? And from the focus, you're gonna find C, yes? So now here, because the center is not 0, 0, you have to count from the center, right? Whatever is the center. So we're gonna draw a little graph here. That's what you did to the first one where I don't remember, somebody asked a question about that. So the center is at -1. -1 is my center. You're gonna count from there. So we have -1, we have 0, we have 1, 2, and 3, because that's what you have, right? So center is at -1. We're looking only in the x-axis because y is the same, y doesn't matter. We're looking only in the x-axis. So I have -1. The focus is at 3, so this is where the focus is. And the vertex is at 1. This is the vertex. So now we're going to count. Center to vertex is A. So what is A? How many steps you go from -1 to 1? From -1 to 1, what is the distance? The distance is 1, 2 steps. Yes. So that's going to be, A is going to be 2. That's right. So have A is 2. Now what is C? Center to focus is C, right? Center to focus. So we're going to count from -1 to 3. What is the distance?
Four.
That's right. Good job. C is going to be 4. Everybody see that? So A is 2, C is 4, and then if A is 2, what is A square? I'm going to square that is 4. And what is C square? 4 times 4 is 16. So I'm going to replace A square is going to be 4. I'm replacing that with 4. Now I have to find B square, and I'm going to use the formula for B square for hyperbola, this one here. B square is C square minus A square. So what is C square? 16 minus A square is 4. 16 minus 4 is 12. So B square is going to be 12. So I'm replacing B square with 12. And you're just going to write the answer. So my final answer for this problem is going to be, now here we have x minus minus 1. So minus and minus make plus, right? So it's going to be x plus 1 square over 4 minus y minus 3, because it's only 1 minus, square over 12 equals 1. And this is what you're going to put in your answer box. That's your final answer. Okay? Any questions? Let me know. Everybody good? So when the center is something else, you're going to use h and k from the center, and you're going to count from the center. The distance from center to vertex is A, center to focus is C. And the easiest way to do that is when you draw a picture, when you draw the graph, and then count the steps. Okay? Any questions? Okay? No? Then you're going to the last one, which you have to find the equation of hyperbola again. So I'm going to look at the hyperbola formula sheets. And they give me the center. So the center is h and k, right? And they give me A, they give me B. Okay? So they give me everything pretty much. I just need to get the equation. Now, here it doesn't say which one is your major. It doesn't say major X or major Y. Now, this is question from your lab. It's not clear what is your major axis, but to get the right answer, I checked it. This is the one you're going to use. You're going to use the major axis X. Okay? So I'm going to copy that answer, that equation, and I'm going to plug the numbers. So the formula is x minus h squared over a squared minus y minus k squared over b squared equals 1. So this is the formula. Now we're going to replace the numbers. H is 3, so I'm going to replace h with 3. K is -5, so here we have two negatives, we're going to make positive. A squared is 9, and b squared is 4. So you're just going to rewrite this with the given numbers. That's all what you're doing, because you have given A and B. You don't need to use another formula to find A and B. You already have it given. So the final answer is going to be x minus 3 squared over 9 minus y minus and minus, it's plus 5 squared over 4 equals 1. Now make sure when you put this in your web assign, make sure you put the parentheses and then the square. So make sure it looks exactly like this. Okay, so this is the answer. Now let me know if you guys have any questions here.
I have a question.
Yes.
How did you come up with using the major axis X in this one?
Okay, so I told you this is from the lab, and it's not clear which one is the major axis. And because I put it with major axis Y and it says wrong, then I put it to major axis X and I saw it's right. So in this question from the lab is not clear which one is the major axis, but I'm telling you from experience that if you use the major axis X, it's gonna give you the right answer on the lab. Okay, usually it's gonna say which one is your major axis, X or Y. But in the lab is not clear, so that's why I'm showing you this example. So make sure you understand that for the lab, you have the same type of question. You're gonna use major axis X and you're gonna get the right answer. Okay?
I have a question.
Yes,
If you bring up the formula sheet,
yes,
please.
yes.
On the formula sheet, the major axis has, okay, so
Yes, here you go.
we use the one at the top or we use the one at the bottom?
The top.
The top, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So then
Yes, if the
I
major axis is X, using the top one. If the major axis is Y, using the bottom one, yes. And the difference is, this is the difference. So if the major is X, A is above A. If the major is Y, Y goes with the major axis because A is half of the major, right? So X go with the half of the major, Y goes with half of the major. Make sense? That's the difference. Oh, here you should have equals 1 in the equation.
okay.
Okay?
E-
Got it? Okay. Any other questions? Okay, so this is what you have for this week. This is week 6.